everyone. How are you doing today? Welcome. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. We are so excited that you are here today. We want to go ahead and get started in our Kingdom Builders Credit Repair TV show and our KBCR podcast. That's what we are here to do today is talk to you about all things credit. We are Credit and Financial Tips with yours truly, Michelle Green. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to get into the lesson or the message or whatever you would like to call it. It's just a learning platform right here. This is where we educate you on finances and on credit. That's right. And we would like to just say thank you for being a viewer. Thank you for being a subscriber. Thank you for engaging in our shows each time in our podcast. Thank you so much. Listen, we want to first let you know that we are going to explain to you what credit is before we get into our topic. Our topic today is going to be about credit, and then what? What happens after we get our credit right? Okay, so we're going to talk about that, and I know you're excited to hear what it is that we have to say about credit. But first, we want to explain to you what credit is. So, credit is your opportunity when you don't have enough money today to be able to put something on credit, to put it on a credit with a financial institution, which we call a lender or a creditor. So, if you have a lender or creditor, you have that lender or creditor because you didn't have enough money as you were working and earning a living to pay for the things that you needed or the things that you wanted. So, what do we do here at Kingdom Builders Credit Repair TV show and podcast? We teach you how to manage your credit and how to manage your finances. And we want you to understand how to do that because this is a very strategic game that is played as it relates to your credit and finances. So, what we want to understand about credit and finances is that if we don't have our credit and finances intact, we will fail. And there are so many different things that we have learned throughout having the show. There are so many things that we have learned, just myself as being in the credit industry and the finance industry for over 30 plus years. Listen, so many things that are important for us to understand so that when we are dealing with our own credit, when we're dealing with maybe our spouse's credit or our significant other, or we are dealing with our children's credit or even a parent's credit as they get older and maybe we have to take care of a parent's credit, we want to understand how credit works, how to play the credit game. So today we are going to dive into a conversation around credit, but we're going to talk about after you have achieved the goal that you want to receive, then what happens? What happens? How are you supposed to continue this journey? Well, first, I want to say that as it relates to credit, I realized that over the timeline of my lifestyle of having credit, when I first started out, getting my first furniture bill, my first jewelry account, my first credit card, and then moving up higher as I made more money, being able to get a vehicle loan and then a mortgage at the age of 23. Listen, I'm telling you that it's a lot of responsibility and it's kind of like very weighty when you first start out in getting credit. What you want to understand about credit is that, yes, you're always going to have a much larger amount of money that you will have to borrow in most cases than not. So if you are not comfortable with the idea of being able to obtain credit and then seeing that there is this large loan that you have borrowed, then I want you to go ahead and just begin to Accept the idea, because when it relates to credit and finances, we always have a lot more debt than what we normally expect. Okay. When we get financed, when you think about the process of having credit, it's always going to be that no, you're not making the kind of money to actually sit back and accrue or invest enough money that you have a return on your money at this point in time in your life that you will be able to pay for a $300,000 or $400,000 house, or a 50 or 25 to $50,000 vehicle. You know, when we look at credit, we have to understand that it's always going to be a lot more money that we are borrowing than what we have in our possession today, possibly. Now, as we grow and we get older and we learn some things about finances, then that amount of money, that loan amount, should begin to decrease. But if you are like most people in the ages range of 30s, 40s, and 50s, they are just now finding out about this information because we've only been doing the show for a year. So a lot of people still don't know, they're not aware that they are supposed to be indebted with a large amount of money. So when we talk about credit, we want to understand that don't be discouraged around credit when it pertains to the fact that we are going to have a lot of money. We're going to have to borrow a lot of money. We're going to have to be able to borrow a large lump sum of money, and we're going to have to pay it back. And regardless of what age we are still going to have to make sure we're positioning our finances and our credit to be able to give that money back. Okay. So that's the main course. That's the main focal point that I want us to understand. We got to understand that as it relates to us being able to get involved with credit, we are going to have larger amounts. We're not going to be able to go and just say that because we work at a certain place, we earn a certain amount of living, that we only can borrow like maybe $1,000 or $2,000 here or there, and we'll be able to live the lifestyle that we want to live. That's absolutely not how life works. So we want to just accept. So first, let's just accept that we are going to have to borrow a large amount of money in order for us to sustain our credit profiles, our credit reports, our credit period. So, regardless of what you're trying to do, just be in a position to where you have a mindset that debt is going to exist. The second thing I want us to think about is as it relates to credit and this whole journey of having credit is let's get in a mindset that we are going to pay the loan back. We have credit that we will pay back. We will have items that we have accrued, and we need to put together a plan, a strategy on how we can pay back a $300,000 mortgage. How can we pay back a $50,000 vehicle loan? How can we pay back a $20,000 personal loan? And if it's lower or higher, listen, guys, no matter what the numbers are, we have to make sure that we are doing all that we can, not just to obtain the credit, but to position ourselves to pay off the debt. Okay. So when it relates to credit, 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 and then what, I want us to think about when you were thinking about getting that vehicle and you were thinking about getting that loan, that personal loan, because you needed some help because of your life emergency, whatever is going on in your life. Listen, I want you to think about when you were trying to get that vehicle, or you were trying to get that furniture, or you were trying to get that credit card so that you can take care of your kids and making sure that they had the proper clothing, they had the things that they need to go to school. Whenever or whatever the scenario, we got to understand to position ourselves for the payback. Okay, so that's probably what the show should have been called today, the payback. What are you doing to position yourself with a strategy to pay back the money that you were able to borrow? See, as it relates to credit, so many of us tend to get into a mindset that after we are able to buy something, once we buy that home, after we bought the car, we don't have a mindset around being able to maintain the property. We don't have a mindset to be able to maintain the payments, being able to maintain the vehicle, maintain the house, maintain the furniture, maintain the loan. We don't have the mindset to really be able to continue paying it off. And when we don't have that mindset, guess what happens? We end up with bad or slow credit. Now, I don't really like to call credit bad, but I know that there are scenarios where so many of us, especially I'm talking about like millions upon billions of us, that are now in situations where we didn't really consider that we would not have the kind of income that we are currently in. So many of us don't really think about our futures in the aspect of being able to make sure we're always positioning ourselves for being able to have the money to pay back the debt. I want us to really stop that though. And the reason why I want us to stop and think about that for real, is because so many of us having slow and bad credit, when we think about slow or bad credit, we're talking about debt or credit rather that has not been paid back. So you got a lot of late payments, okay? You got a lot of late payments, and you might even have some charge off write offs, which are after you have not paid on your credit for, let's say, 6 months out of the year. Then it becomes a charge off write off. So as it relates to us, and not really thinking about the future after we make the purchase, after we do the thing that has to be done, we tend to look at that, okay, I can't do any better now because I'm not making that kind of money. But we should always put ourselves in the position to be able to make as much as we possibly can and try to pay off while we are working and making the good income. As we are making the money and we're doing the thing that we need to do to earn a living, let's put on the loans as much money as we can to pay them off. Let's put together a strategy that is going to allow us to pay back the terms of the credit earlier than what we were expected to. That's right. So you don't have to go by the fact that the lender or creditor gave you some terms and conditions to pay back the loan or the vehicle loan, the personal loan, the furniture loan, the mortgage loan, or the credit cards. They gave you terms and conditions on how to pay it back. But what we got to understand is, even though we have these terms and conditions, these contracts, we don't have to go by those contracts. We can actually go by what strategy, what plan we put together. Okay. So, what is our strategy? What is our plan for our credit? What happens after we get the purchase that we have been dreaming about? After we get approved, and we're so excited, we're so happy, we're happy to show off our new homes. We are having people come over for a housewarming after we got that new car and we are driving around and stopping at those red lights, and we're allowing people to see like how happy we are in our new vehicle. Listen, after we got the money to be able to pay for the responsibilities that we have in our household, in our families, we were able to pay the rent, we were able to pay the mortgage, we're able to pay the utility, we're able to do the things that we need to do to put clothes on our back and to take care of our grooming and our eating, our grocery bill. All of these things are a part of the credit equation. And how it pertains to credit is because when we start out with finances, we start out learning how to train ourselves with credit. So, how are you with finances? And finances, by the way, in case you're wondering, if it's the same thing as credit, it's not the same thing as credit. Finances are where we are looking at just your basic recyclable items. So, the things that you absolutely cannot live without. You cannot live without lights. You cannot live without water. You cannot live without electricity, lights, water, internet in this day and time, right? Okay. So these are things that we have to have: sewage, waste management for our trash. All of these are things that train us how to manage credit. So, how is your utilities? How are you constantly paying on your utilities? Because utilities are going to be around forever. As long as we are alive, we are going to have to obtain the utilities, the things that are beneficial to us and necessary in order for us to live in our households as we are with whatever we have. So, our lives don't exist without the financial part, and it doesn't exist without credit. Everyone everywhere has at some point in time in their life have to relate to getting some type of credit, because we just aren't the kind of people who have the hundreds of thousands of dollars just sitting around. And if we did have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting around, then guess what? We can pay it outright. But who wants to pay a whole three or $400,000 out of pocket when we don't have to do that? That's what credit is for. So we have to learn how to manage our credit. We have to learn how to position ourselves for being able to pay off our debt. I'm not saying that if you do have the money, don't to get into debt in spite of. If you do have the money, you always want to have a little cushion on the side so that you can have something to fall back on. But you also don't want to be indebted your entire life. You don't want to have these large lump sums of balances that you have to pay off after you get to a certain age. And I would say 70s, 60s, and 70s, you should be in a position to where you're getting ready to pay off some stuff, where you are eliminating those loans, where you are eliminating the car note, where you're eliminating the mortgage. And as you get older, because your income is going to change, you're not going to have the kind of income that you previously had, right? Then it's necessary to start eliminating some of the things that you may have been paying out prior to your previous income. So, our previous income, when we're in that working stage, we have to realize that if we're between the ages of 18 and I would say about 70 years old, if we are in between the ages of 18 and 70 years old, then we are in a range where we're pretty much still receiving a nice big chunk of income for wherever we're working, whatever our field is, whatever businesses that we may own, we are still receiving a nice pretty penny as income. But as we get older, because our income is going to change, we got to prepare for making sure that we don't have a lot of debt lingering around, because our income is going to go down. Did you know that Social Security, if we are dependent on working all of these 30, 40, some of us 50 and 60 years of our life working, if we are looking at the percentage of Social Security to depend on as an income, or maybe disability or some type of retirement, then we have to understand that that usually is not even half of our income. Did you know that? It's not even half of the money that we were making while we were earning a living all of these 20, 30, 40, 50, and maybe even 60 years of our life. So, if that means that our income is not even going to supply us half of what we were making, then why would we put ourselves in a position to be indebted unnecessarily? That is not how we want to live. We want to always think of finances and credit as something that is there to help us during a temporary period of time, not as a permanent lifestyle forever and a day. We don't want to leave this earth and still have debt. We don't want to leave this earth and still leave behind for somebody else, like our spouses, like our children, or whomever that we leave behind. We don't want to leave this earth and have them having to figure out how to handle our debt, especially as it relates to a home. I want us to really begin to think about what can we do today to position ourselves to pay off our houses. Listen, so many times I hear, because I do this every day, I am fully engaged with all of our clients. And one of the things that I hear all the time is that there is a someone that maybe has lost a loved one, and there is a mortgage debt that is still lingering. And what does the people do? What do they do from the person who passed away that still had a mortgage loan that has to be paid off? And especially being if there were other people in the house that did not make that kind of income that the person who passed away made. So, therefore, now if they're going to continue to live in the house, how are they going to pay off that mortgage or finance it in their name? How can they do that if they're not in the right position with their credit? So, this is why it's important for us to understand, guys, that when we look at credit, when we look at our finances, are we really strategizing to pay off the things that we own? Are we strategizing to be able to position our lives to really end debt at some point in time in the future? We might not be positioned to do it in this very moment, but I'm sure that there is a skill, a gift, or talent that you have. Because we all have something that we are good at. We all have something, whether it's taking care of kids, or whether it's drawing, whether it is doing some type of grooming. Maybe you're good at nails and hair, makeup. Maybe you are good at cutting hair. Maybe you're good at cutting grass, or, trimming the bushes. Whatever you can do to earn an additional income right now, today, while you're healthy, while you have your strength in your body, while you have the ability to be able to really earn a living. And I mean the highest level of income that you can receive right now in your life. This is the time where you should be moving forward to pay off the debt. So when I say credit, 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 and then what? What I mean is we obtain the credit. We should be grateful and thankful for the credit that we earn, that we have. We should be appreciative and really begin to think about when we first got the credit item and how grateful we were to get that approval. But we also don't want to forget about the fact that after we get what we have, we got a plan to pay it off. We have to have a plan to pay it off, because if we don't, and we start getting those late payments, and we start getting those charge off write offs, and we start getting those collection accounts, then we're talking about a drop in our credit scores over 100 points. That's right, over 100 points. Are you serious right now? That we don't understand that if we don't position ourselves for being able to take care of the debt that we own, that we're, as we get older, not going to have the position of being able to pay off the things that we really need to pay off. We're not even going to be able to obtain something later on in life if we have not done the right things today. So I challenge you today. I challenge you to be able to go and take care of the debt that you are supposed to take care of. take care of those credit items. The ones that you've decided that, hey, I want to buy a house. I want to buy this particular car. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with you having that vehicle, nor is it anything wrong with you having that house, but you have to plan how you're going to pay it off. Okay? This is why credit works. This is how the game of credit works. It works when you work the system. The major system is understanding that we don't just get in a position to obtain the credit, but we get in a position to be able to pay off the debt. That's right. We get in position to be able to get what we need and staying in the position by making sure we're paying our payments on time, making sure that we're paying more than what we need to pay per month so that we can get out of debt, but also to understand that to have an excellent credit score, we also have to maintain having debt. We have to maintain having some debt, just not a whole lot of debt. So don't get it twisted. Don't get mixed up in the mix. Listen, understand that we will always have to have credit because it is up there with oxygen. But as we get older, we have to position ourselves for being able to pay off our debt. As we get older, the longer we've had the debt, the better it is to position ourselves to pay it all off so that when we get older, we will still have the opportunity if we need to gain credit and we don't actually have the kind of income we used to have, that we'll still be in position to get what we need. That's right. Did you know that even if you don't have the same income, that you still have the opportunity to gain credit if you have excellent credit scores? That's right. I want you to really just think about that for a second. So, I'm saying to you that even if you don't have as much money as you used to have coming through your bank account, you would still be able to get credit off of having an excellent credit score. So that's why it's important that we just don't stop paying on the things that we have been able to receive as a credit item. That's why it's so important for us to position ourselves to pay off the debt that we have accrued. Don't just look at debt as, oh my God, it's so much to do. No, let's look at your actual numbers. Let's see what you got coming in, and let's see how we can strategize a plan to get rid of the debt and keep our credit scores good. Okay, that's all I have for today. Let's not just look at credit as being something that is beautiful that we can get into, that we don't get out of. Okay? That is what I want to share with you today. Listen, if you are not subscribed to the KBCR Kingdom Builders Credit Repair YouTube channel and KBCR podcast, I want you to stop what you're doing right now and go ahead and subscribe. Did you know that KBCR podcast and Kingdom Builders Credit Repair TV show is streamed through CTR Media Network? CTR Media Network is streamed to 3.6 billion viewers every single day. And they are in over 175 countries in the world. So if you are assuming that we are just some small stuff right now, I want you to know that we are being seen and heard through billions. And if you yourself have a message that you want to share to the world, if you have something on your heart, or you are a business owner and you are thinking about spreading the word about your products and services, or educating people in your field, your industry, then you need to go over to CTR Media Network right now and get in to their services. You need to get into their network, just like Kingdom Builders Credit Repair, so that you can also be seen and heard throughout the world. Listen, thank you guys for watching. We are so thankful that you came today. And we just want to say, make sure that you are not just subscribed, but that you are also locked into our notifications so that you will never ever miss another episode of the Kingdom Builders Credit Repair TV show and podcast. Thank you again, guys, for being here. And we'll see you next time, every Friday from 12 until. Thank you. Bye-bye.